I'm here again at this beautiful Berrima Reserve on the Wingecarribee River, where I've made some videos before. Early September 2025. The Acacia dealbata are absolutely spectacular. They've just about finished in Sydney, but they're still growing here. Should have made a video on them here. But they're really going off at the moment. Absolutely beautiful. But I've just noticed another species down here we could have a crack at. I didn't realise they were here until I noticed them about a year ago. And just got to get down here onto the Wingecarribee River, see if we can get down. We've had a hell of a lot of rain again over the last sort of 24 hours. Just can't escape the massive amounts of rain that keep falling on the Southern Highlands area and Sydney in general. But down here on the river, with their feet in the water at the moment, is the beautiful Acacia dealbata. It's called the silver wattle or the blue wattle, and it's a real inland tablelands one in New South Wales. Just going to slowly make my way down. Here they are. And you don't often see them this far east. They've got a really strong inland distribution in New South Wales, but they're just here on the banks of the river. They are in flower. Just going to try and get hands-on with some material. So here we are with Acacia dealbata. Still can't believe these ones growing well and truly in the river, although they've probably only been in there a couple of days, or even 24 hours, I would think. I guess that river's going to recede pretty quickly. Gee, it's flowing really fast. But see how they go. I guess it happens to them periodically. But this is a material I've managed to get. Here's the copse of them here. When I look up the records, it looks like Berrima might be one of the easternmost extents for Acacia dealbata. You normally don't get it much closer to Sydney unless it's naturalised. It's probably one that has naturalised outside its range. What you typically see in New South Wales on roadsides is a copse of them growing like this. It's really common. It'll happily grow on a roadside dealbata, but otherwise it grows in dry sclerophyll woodland and is pretty common in large regenerating copses across its range. Now, if you ever get to Tasmania and have a good look at them there, they get to 30 metres tall. 30 metres in Tasmania. I've never seen them anywhere near that big in New South Wales, but in Tassie on a mountain bike ride, I was completely blown away at the size of them. Just incredible, massive. But New South Wales, I don't know, the biggest I tend to see them if I get into nice intact bushland is maybe 5, 6, maybe 8 metres sometimes. I rarely see really big ones. What I tend to see is these sort of regenerating copses a lot of the time. It's called the silver wattle or the blue wattle, and that's what dealbata means. It just refers to the silvery growth. It's got these very pruneose stems. Just going to put some down on the rock here and try and have a look. It's just got these really white waxy stems a lot of the time. You can probably try and rub it off. You might get a bit of waxy hue off there, but that's what they're known for having. People think they've got a really nice feel. They've got this nice felty feel to them, which differs a bit from the other bipinnate wattles. They're just a nice feathery foliage, sort of a joy to run through your hands. It's not quite flannelette, but it's got a really nice feel to it. I think the leaves overall can be up to about 12 centimetres long. You can see it's one of the bipinnate ones, and it's got these really clustered, what I'd call pairs of pinna or pinnae, meaning just entire groups of pinnules. and it hardly leaves any room for interjugary glands. So what you get is jugary glands, and sometimes they can be absent at some points, but you don't tend to get interjugary glands on Acacia dealbata. It's almost like there isn't room for them a lot of the time. Just going to have a look at this one here. The pinnules are very, very narrow, probably less than 1 mil wide. And just looking at these ones, they're probably about 2 or 3 mil long, something like that. Trying to zoom in on this leaf and making a bit of a mess of it. Yeah, but there's the jugary glands again. Very clustered. There is room for interjugary glands, but only just. You know, they'd have to squeeze in there in about 5 mil of room between each jugary gland. There's about 5 mil of space between each jugary gland. They've got a nice sort of bluish hint to them in the sun. Sun's coming out now, which is good. The rain's passed on. Got a nice bluey hint to them. The foliage is very blue. To me, it's, you know, if it's a blue-green spectrum, it's sort of down the bluish ends. The new growth can be a bit more green, but the leaves sort of age to bluey green, if I'm picking that up there. There's one here that isn't, well, it's got a little bit of flower on it. I did see them in flower about 3 weeks ago. These ones don't seem to have any spent flowers on them, so they're probably all still coming on into flower. Just the white tips there, really obvious. It's got a pretty big range, Acacia dealbata. Like I said, it's not really coastal in New South Wales, but it's very common on the tablelands up and down, and it's very common on the western slopes, and it gets out pretty far west. I think it almost makes it to the Western Plains. I think you can get it on the Murray River there, going along the Victorian border. I saw some records around a place called, I think it's Barham or Barham, on the border there. It gets out that far west. That's pretty much out to the Western Plains almost. It's pretty much all over Victoria, and it's pretty much all over Tasmania, I would say, except for maybe the western quarter of the state. Otherwise, it's all over Tasmania, and I saw it in Tasmania pretty commonly. In Tasmania, I even saw it growing pretty much next to the beach. You know, that sort of makes sense if you look at Tasmania, where, you know, in terms of its longitude, it's sort of in line with central New South Wales. And you see dealbata there growing very close to the beach. It's a bit of a spin out, but that's where it grows. In New South Wales, I doubt you'll see Acacia dealbata naturally next to the beach. It gets into South Australia just again around that Mount Gambier area and the Adelaide area. But that's about as far west as it goes. I assume it's naturalised in other places. I'm not sure about Western Australia, but if it's naturalised in other parts of the world, I wouldn't be surprised. It's a case with some of these wattles. I'm just not sure on its naturalisation extent. It commonly grows in these sort of copses, always sort of multi-stemmed. And you can see a lot of lighter patches on the trunk, and it's got this hard furrowed bark as well that I can't really pull off. So that's a typical trunk appearance, and you know, this, like I said, this could be a roadside stand. It's a riverside stand, but it could easily be a roadside stand. On the road from Lithgow to Bathurst, you'll start to see them. Lithgow to Mudgee, you'll start to see them as well. But I have found some stands in the Southern Highlands. They're growing alongside the Mittagong railway line, just there, pretty much right near Mittagong station. Berrima here, and they're also growing around, I've seen them around the Mossvale area as well. I'm not sure if they're natural or they're ringings. They're also growing alongside the train line near Bundanoon. And I'm just assuming when you see them along the rail line, they're probably ringings, I would think. Here's the flowers. Globular heads, of course, racemes. Some of these racemes are pretty long. They're up to about 10, 15 centimetres. So putting on these beautiful long sprays in the manner of Decurrens or Paramatensis maybe. They're a very lemon yellow colour. Even here, they're getting into that sort of what I call that fluorescent yellow, that sort of deeper fluorescent yellow colour. The sun's just left us, it's a bit more obvious in the sunlight, but they're nice and fluorescent, dealbata. Just sort of the middle, what I'd call, say, the middle of the spectrum, I reckon. It's early September, they're flowering now. I think I've seen them flowering in September before. I would sort of, without looking it up, hazard a guess, August to October is probably the prime flowering time, or August, September, maybe depending where in Australia you are. Sorry, the geographic range, it doesn't quite get into Queensland. It stops there at the border. It's a bit strange. It looks like on the records it just maybe gets over the border again around that Stanthorpe area, but it's hardly in Queensland if it's there at all. So again, it's stopping short at just at the border there at Queensland. Again, maybe there's a barrier there around that Stanthorpe area, but it's not really punching on much further than that. Just looking at the underside of the foliage, it seems to be about the same colour as the top side. No real difference there. The individual globular heads, they can have anywhere between, what's reported is 17 to 35 flowers. So maybe we just roughly say 15 to 35, something like that. But that's a bit of variation, but I haven't actually got any here in the bud stage. But 17 to 35 is reported. So beautiful. It's a really easy one to learn, I think, dealbata. If you start just noticing on the sides of the roads, once you get over the other side of the Great Dividing Range, just if you're around Bathurst or Orange, you should be able to pick it up pretty readily. And it's one you can sort of learn pretty quickly, I think, just with the clustered pinnules and the bluish nature to it, and just the habitat or the location being sort of inland New South Wales. It's a nice, easy one to learn, and it's out there in very large numbers. If you get to Tasmania, try and have a look at them. 30 metres tall. I just stopped to take some photos of some on a trip a couple of years ago. Just unbelievable. Growing in sort of moist sclerophyll woodland, and they had trunks on them about 20 centimetres across, and they were hitting 30 metres. I've just never seen them anywhere near that big in New South Wales, but there might be somewhere to pick them up like that. This is what I typically see in New South Wales for Acacia dealbata. Maybe, you know, a little bit taller in some cases. They're very common in grassy box woodland on the tablelands in New South Wales. They're a common mid-storey species. Just normally not that close to Sydney, but like I said, here at Berrima, it looks like it's the easternmost extent. I can't see too many records further east of Berrima towards the coast. So that's a beautiful Acacia dealbata. It's a nice wattle. It would be a nice garden plant as well. They're easily manageable and they don't really get very big.